2. Hello, everyone. I am so excited to have you join us today. We have my good friend, Dr. Miles Bodzin, who's the founder and CEO of Cash Practice Systems, here today to talk about how to skyrocket cash collections even when patients have high deductibles and copays. And to be perfectly honest, there really is no better presenter to address this topic than Dr. Bodzin. He has really made a career into analyzing, and I mean truly analyzing, how patients make financial decisions and then turning around and utilizing that or into his software and then teaching practices all over the country how to really meet their patients where they are to make chiropractic care more affordable. The psychological information and all of the stuff that I've learned from him over the years would truly just blow you away. And I sometimes wish we had more than an hour on this webinar series because there's so much that we can learn from him. So for those of you who are not familiar with him, like I said, he is the founder and CEO of Cash Practice Systems. He had his own practice and had a patient visit average of over 300, which is just unheard of. He speaks internationally on the topic of client retention. His company does have web-based software that helps you to really streamline your practice, and it really addresses like the 4 areas of practice that I think a lot of practices really struggle with, and it makes it so easy, so intuitive, just a part of your really just a very easy part of your practice to implement. He has helped thousands of chiropractic offices all across the country to collect more cash in their offices and become more profitable, and also to increase their patient retention. And now he's also added to his resume that he's also a movie producer and has a movie that's going to be premiering this Thursday called The Calling. And I will just tell you, if you don't follow Cash Practice on social, you really should. Phenomenal information. You can also learn more about the movie that's going to be coming out. Hands down, like I'm so jealous that I'm not going to be in San Diego this week to see it. But anyway, I'll hush and we'll turn it over to Dr. Bodzin. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Christy. What a wonderful introduction. I've done numerous webinars over the years, and I have to say that's probably one of my favorite, best introductions I've had done. So thank you so much for that kind introduction. So I also want to say a warm welcome to everybody, and a big thank you to ChiroHealthUSA for inviting me to present on their webinar series. We've been longtime friends, probably going on over a decade now, and it's always a pleasure to reach out to your audience. Some of you on the call right now may be current members of Cash Practice. Some of you are probably not members of ours, and you're going to learn something new today. And so put on your seatbelts. We're going to talk about today about how you increase your cash collections when patients have high deductibles and copays. By the name of our company, Cash Practice, some people automatically assume that there's nothing to do with insurance, and that couldn't be further from the truth. We do have most of our clients are still dealing with insurance, patients walking in with high deductibles or even low deductibles or still utilizing their insurance. So I just want to kind of mention that right off the bat, that this isn't all about leaving insurance behind. This is about how do you increase your cash collections and your retention, all while not giving up insurance should you choose not to give that up. So let's get started with today's presentation. I do need to give a quick disclaimer at the very beginning here, and this is a disclaimer that I know that ChiroHealthUSA uses also as well, just basically stating that we're going to be showing you examples of fees, and by no means are any of the fees that we're showing you on this presentation a recommendation of what you should be charging. So if whatever you see is just, again, for educational purposes. The second thing I want to mention is that by no means are we saying to you that you should drop out of insurance or that you should boycott any specific insurance companies. By no means is that any kind of indication or anything that we're stating in this webinar per se. All right, so let's get started. Now, one of the things I would normally do if this was a live audience and I could see you and we could interact is I would go around the room and start asking you guys questions like, what are you hoping to learn today? What is the most, what if there's one thing you learned from what I'm going to present today, what's that thing you want to learn? I can't ask that to you right now, so I'm just going to assume that you want to learn about how you increase cash collections. And I just want to make this blank statement here that I put on the screen there. You could successfully enroll patients with high deductible insurance into care plans. And when you see the word care plans, I just want to speak to what I'm referring to here. What I'm referring to is when patients come in, over 90% of chiropractors want to have patients be on some kind of program of care, whether it be 2 months, 4 months, 6 months, a year, whatever is required in order to accomplish the goal for helping that patient get well. And then the intention is to have them transition onto some kind of wellness or maintenance care. I know there's a small section of chiropractors that's not what their belief system is. I'm speaking to the vast majority, the 95% of chiropractors, that is what you want to do, that you want to have people enroll in a care plan. One of the biggest frustrations I see on the market when I talk to chiropractors is their failure to successfully enroll people into care plans or to limit themselves to what the insurance covers and not truly delivering on what they really want to be doing with patients. And I want to show you that that is possible, and it's even possible to do when people have insurance, or especially even when they have high deductibles. Christy already mentioned that I was in practice, and I did. I practiced for nearly 20 years until about 2011 when I did retire from practice in order to dedicate my time full time to running cash practice now. But when I was in practice, the story I want to share with you, and I don't want to take too much time with my story, but I do want to share a little bit about it. We do have a movie coming out that Christy just mentioned that goes more into detail about our story. But my story starts off, I want to share, in 1994 when I opened my practice in Southern California. 1994 was not a time where you saw the word wellness everywhere. You see in my practice name, the Chiropractic Wellness Center, which is a pretty common name you see these days. You see that name being used quite often these days. But in 1994 in Southern California, we didn't see it anywhere. In fact, the word wellness didn't exist in any business at that time. We were the very first business to use the word wellness in it. And again, back in 1994, people didn't think of chiropractic for wellness. At least in San Diego, what they thought of is when you opened the yellow page, every advertisement was either a picture of some guy bent over with lightning bolts flying out of his back for back pain, or it was a picture of a car accident. And that's what people thought of for chiropractic, is you went to them for car accidents, you went to them for back pain. And by the way, in Southern California, this is where managed care started. So many of you throughout the country right now are now first, in the last number of years, first getting a taste of managed care. Well, as early as 1993, 1994, when I was first in practice, people were coming in already with PPOs and HMOs and managed care, and I wasn't part of any of that. And I share that with you because here I am, a young kid out of school, wanting to do wellness, wanting to do this wellness type practice. And lo and behold, by the way, I do see someone made a question say they can't hear anything. I just want you to be aware, I believe, Christy, you might want to put a message that people, I believe, need to call in on the presenter bridge. I'm pretty sure that's what they need to do. So just make sure you're addressing that. But back in 1984, like I was saying, that here I am, a young kid out of school wanting to do wellness. Every patient coming in is either coming in off a yellow page ad for back pain or neck pain, or that's what they're seeing in the marketplace. They're part of managed care that I'm not part of. And long story short, I struggled. I struggled really hard for the first couple of years in practice, where eventually I got to a place where I almost gave up on being a chiropractor and decided to go back to engineering school and finish my engineering degree. Long story short, I didn't do that. I ended up staying in practice, ended up getting some advice and getting some help on what I needed to change things, and eventually turn things around. And I'll just share with you the two key things that turned the corner for me, that took me from penniless, not being able to pay my rent, struggling in practice, having to move back in with my parents, with my wife and my daughter at the time, and not being able to afford to live. And what turned the corner to eventually getting us to a place where we had a great amount of success, able to afford to buy our own home, and all those things that go along with success. What turned the corner for me were two key things. The two key things, because let me just back up. I already knew the story of chiropractic. I was already passionate about chiropractic. I was already telling the story. I was already doing all the things that I thought were important. But what I wasn't doing was two things, and then I started doing them, and that changed the things. And the two things I did was I started putting people on care plans. 3 months of care, 4 months of care, 6 months of care, a year of care. And the second thing I started doing was putting people on monthly payments. Those two things I attribute to eventually leading to a place of having extraordinary success, where eventually you got to a place where by the time I sold my practice, my PVA, as Christy mentioned in my introduction, was just over 300 visits. That the reason I had such high retention was many of the things that we teach at running at our company Cash Practice, and I'm going to share a few of those with you today. Christy already mentioned the movie The Calling, and we're really excited about this. We've been working on this project for the last year, and we want everybody to see this movie. You can learn more about it by going to www.thecallingmovie.com. I just wanted to share that with you. It's the story of being called to become a chiropractor. There's never been a movie done like this before, and I said it's about time we tell the story of what it is to become a chiropractor, and that's what this movie's about. That URL currently will point you to our Facebook event page. That's where it currently points to, because we're doing our red carpet premiere this Thursday. Once that premiere is over, that URL will then point to another page that will give you details on how you can watch this movie on Amazon. We will be releasing it on November 15th, next week, on Amazon Prime. So all of you can go on Amazon and go to the calling on Amazon and be able to watch it on your own TVs or on your computers, etc. We want to get the message of the story out. We want to get the message of chiropractic out to the masses. And quite frankly, in order to do that on Amazon, it needs to become a popular movie on Amazon. It has to become a trending movie for people to be exposed to the chiropractic message through this movie. And in order to do that, we need thousands and thousands and thousands of people viewing this movie. So what we're going to ask everybody to do is on the 15th, not only do we want you to watch it, but ask all your staff to watch it. Ask all your patients to watch it. Ask all your friends to watch it. Ask all your colleagues to watch it. Just get the message out that this movie's premiering, and if they watch it on the 15th, that day on the 15th, as if we get a ton of people watching it that same day, it'll start trending on Amazon as a popular movie. And that would be a great thing for more and more people to be exposed to the story of being called to become a chiropractor. It really paints a real positive picture of chiropractic. If you go to the website or the Facebook page right now, and you go to the discussion section of the website, of the Facebook event page, you'll see there's a bunch of videos on there you can watch. The trailers on there and a bunch of interviews, and you can learn more about it. So I just wanted to put that out there. We're super excited about this. We were just at a big convention for all the state associations last week, and we were sharing it with the state associations. They're super, super excited about this. Nonetheless, never before has chiropractic had a story like this out in the main media. So we're excited to have you guys share that. All right, let's get on with the topic today. What I want to show you first off here is in what it looks like when you apply what I'm about to teach you. Well, apply some of this. What I'm about to teach you is not everything you have to do, but it's a piece of the puzzle. But what I want you to see in this slide is this is a graph. Obviously, it's a graph, a chart of cash collections. So each of those purple bars represents 1 quarter in a practice, 3 months, a quarter of the year of their collections. And this is almost a 10-year span. This is 2008 to 2017, so a good 9 years here. And I purposely chose such a long period of time for you because I want you to see that what I'm about to share with you helps you grow your practice consistently over the extended period of time, meaning anybody could teach you to do something that will help you grow your practice for a month or 2 months or have a great, quarter. But there's very few things out there that will consistently grow your practice month after month, quarter after quarter, year after year. Here's that same practice showing their cash collections each year. Now, this is not their insurance revenue. This is just their cash collections. And again, I'm showing you such an extended period of time because I want you to see that as long as you continue to do the things that I'm sharing with you or going to share with you, you will see continuous growth. It's not an overnight one and done thing. It's a consistent process. And the only practices in the world that I've observed, and I've seen thousands of practices now, the only ones that will do this, here's another practice showing their quarterly collections over an extended period of time. Here's that same practice showing their annual cash collections. The absolute only practices in the world that will do this, will they'll continuously grow and not plateau and not peak out at some level, are the ones that continuously add new patients and don't lose them on the back end. That is the only practice that'll do it. It's the practice that's filling up their bucket and they don't have a leaky bucket where all the patients are leaving just as quick as they're showing up. They don't have a revolving door practice. And again, so what does that mean? That means they have high retention. They're not losing them. That every new patient that comes in, you have a high chance that the patient is going to follow through with care and be with you for a very, very long time. And as you add more people, obviously your population of patients you're serving grows and grows and grows. This next slide here is showing you a chart showing you the growth of what deductibles have done in the last 5 years, from 2010 at least to 2015, showing the rate. That red line represents how deductibles have continued to rise in comparison to insurance premiums and insurance company earnings. The deductibles are the fastest rising portion of insurance. In fact, when I'm out in the live audience and asking people, like, how many of you have seen a deductible of $2,000 or $5,000? I actually had someone a couple weeks ago when I was in Dallas tell me that they saw a deductible of $18,000. And I've never heard that before. The most I've seen before is a $12,500 deductible. So we have patients walking in with insurance that have these extraordinarily high deductibles, and they expect their insurance is going to cover it. And meanwhile, we know with a deductible like that, they're never going to meet that deductible. Certainly, they're not going to meet it in your office in all likelihood, which means they're basically paying out of pocket. So we have to have a strategy for handling that if that we intend to have a patient pay for care, whether it's on a care plan or even per visit, whatever it may be. We want to make it affordable for people so they can afford to get the care. Now, I want to pause on what I'm saying here, and that is I want to kind of give you kind of the overall arching theme of what we want to do in practice, at least from a business perspective. In a cash model, what I'm not a fan of you doing is saying, let me have a low fee so that people can afford it. What I'd much rather you see is a high fee, and then you're able to apply a compliant discount to that fee when people are paying you out of pocket for non-covered services. So this is why we're partners with ChiroHealthUSA, because they're the solution for that. That if you have a fee of $75, $80 and you, excuse me, tripping over my own talking here, and you want to be able to discount that fee 25, 30%, something of that nature, the only legal way to do that, as you know, let me take a sip of water here for a second. I'm talking too fast. The only legal way to do that, as you know, is to use a program like ChiroHealthUSA, where it gives you the ability to do contracted discounts in order to get your higher fee down lower. Of course, if you're going to do you're not doing a high fee that you need to reduce, then there isn't a need for that. But the model is let's say your fee is $65, $70, and you're going to be recommending care plan to someone, and it's going to add up to several $1,000s of services if there's no discounts applied. If you want to apply a discount, or when you apply a discount, then you can now make that care affordable for those non-covered services. All right, so let me pause on it. Go back to what I was saying earlier about the deductibles. The challenge is when patients have a deductible, any services that get rendered towards that deductible are considered covered services. And as a result, by definition, if they're covered, they cannot be discounted. So let me repeat that. If a patient walks in with a $5,000 deductible, and they are going to get a $3,000 care plan from you, and that's the cost of the care, and you want to make that less expensive for them by applying a discount, a compliant discount to it. The only way you again do that is, let's say through ChiroHealthUSA, you make that discount. But the point I want to make is that if it's a deductible, if the service is going to deduct, you can't apply the discount to it. You can't, because it's covered services. They must, by definition, be non-covered services. So how do we handle that? What do we do in that situation? Well, the situation is we use HIPAA. And I want to thank ChiroHealthUSA, because they're the ones that actually taught us about this years ago. But I'm going to share the information even if you've heard it before. And that is we want to go ahead and have our patients opt out of their insurance. So here's the scenario. Through HIPAA, because of privacy, patients have the opportunity to say, I don't want you to file my insurance because of privacy. I don't want the insurance company to know what's going on, so I'm going to opt out. And they sign a form that basically lets them opt out in filing the insurance. And you might ask, well, why would a patient want to opt out of insurance? Again, let me clarify. If a patient has such a high deductible that they're never going to get reimbursed by the insurance, the only way they can get an approved legal discount on those services is if those services are non-covered. Well, the only way they're non-covered is if they're not being billed to the deductible. And the only way that could be the case is if they opt out. So what we do is the patient elects to opt out of the insurance. Now, you can't force them to do this. You can't do it with Medicare either. It's only, it's something you can present to them as a choice. And again, the way you present it to them would be a presentation that if you do this program, if you do this, you'll be able to take advantage of the in-office discounts that we have at the practice. Otherwise, you have to pay your full fees. And I assume that you've been on webinars before and you've heard ChiroHealthUSA say it, and you know this, that your fee is your fee is your fee. You don't have multiple fees. You have a fee. You don't have different fee schedules. You have one fee schedule, and then you have several different ways you could apply discounts to those fees. And in order to apply a discount for the non-covered services that are going towards the deductible, they have to become non-covered. And the only way they, by definition, they become non-covered is if the patient opts out. If the patient doesn't opt out and they want you to bill those services towards their insurance to meet the deductible or go towards the deductible, or they want a super bill to be able to submit to the insurance to go towards the deductible, by definition, they are covered services. Therefore, by definition, you cannot apply a discount to those. So there's a form, and again, this is a form that actually ChiroHealthUSA provides. They shared it with us to be able to share with everybody as well. Election to self-pay. This is two different forms here. One is a form that a patient can sign that elects to opt out of the insurance. There's a second form now where patients can elect to opt back into their insurance should their deductible be met at some point and they want to start using their insurance again. We would love to have you go ahead and request that form. Of course, you can get it from ChiroHealthUSA directly. You could also get it from us. We have a number there that you could just pull out your phone, text 619-609-0521, and put in there ChiroHealthUSA self-pay, your phone, your name and email, and we will go ahead and get that form out to you right away. There's lots of ways you get it from us as well as from ChiroHealthUSA directly as well. Next thing is developing a rock-solid discounting policy. So I already said, and we're going to just briefly go through this because you've probably seen this material before about doing a discounting, but I want to get super, super clear so there's no confusion. I'm also going to give you some language to start using so that it clears up confusion among you and your staff, because I believe there's some language that we use when it comes to our fees that creates confusion, and I want to go ahead and clear that up for you. So when it comes to developing a rock-solid compliant policy, there's 4 ways we discount. Okay, so let me clarify. I'm changing gears here. Gear 1 was the strategy is when patients have a high deductible, they opt out of insurance. How do you decide if they should opt out? My recommendation is if the deductible is greater than the amount of care you're going to be recommending, $5,000 deductible and you're recommending $3,000 in care. Now, if they have a small deductible, of course they don't opt out. But again, if the deductible is so large that you'll never meet it, that's the situation where you want to have the patient opt out should they choose to do so. So that's step 1. Step 2 is now that they've opted out, they're considered really a cash patient in that case. They're a cash patient because they've opted out. Now we want to define how do you provide discounts to these quote-unquote non-covered services / cash patients, however you want to refer to them. So there's 4 ways. I'm going to just briefly touch on these because it's not really the focus of today's webinar, but I'll just briefly touch on them. Number 1 is required by mandate. Number 2 is a documented hardship. Number 3 is a contractual agreement. And number 4 is a compliant prompt pay. These are the 4 ways we do discounts, and I'll talk briefly about each one of them. First one is required by mandate. That is, if you are covered or the patient is covered by a federal or a state program like Medicare or Medicaid, that's a mandated required discount. And here's why I want you to start defining a new language in your office. You're used to hearing things like a Medicare fee schedule, a Medicaid fee schedule. I want you from this day forth to never, ever, 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 ever. Christy, I see someone else actually asking for the phone number on the questions. Maybe you could post that for them if they're not aware of that. If you're basically what we're saying here is that for never again are you going to refer to a Medicare fee schedule. The best way to think of this is a Medicare discount schedule. Here's what I mean by that. Your fee is, let's say, $60, and you are now going to accept reimbursement from Medicare. And you've agreed by accepting a Medicare patient to accept $30. I'm just making up an example. So that means you've agreed to discount your services by $30. If your fee was $60 and you're agreeing to accept $30 because that's what Medicare says they're going to reimburse, you've agreed to discount it by $30. And the reason I want you to do this is because in reality, what we're teaching you is there are no such thing as multiple fee schedules. You have one fee schedule. What you have are compliant ways of discounting that fee schedule. So again, Medicare, you don't have a Medicare fee schedule. You have your fees, and then you have agreed to discount your fees to a Medicare level. I know they call it a fee schedule. That's just because they don't understand the language. It should be a Medicare discount schedule. Next is a hardship policy. So your hardship patients, these are people who financially can't afford services. You have a definition in your office that says, my policy says that if someone falls within a certain percentage of the poverty guidelines, they qualify for a certain percentage discount. Again, that is a discount on the services. That's a program that you could do. I don't recommend you use it a lot. It's something you use maybe on 2 or 3% of your patient population. Here's what you definitely don't use. You don't do. You don't say, oh, you're a cash patient, so you're a hardship. That is not allowed. A hardship is not based upon how the patient's paying for care. It has to do with whether they can afford care or not. So that's you can learn more about that as well. I know KMC University also has a great program on teaching about hardships as well. The next one, a contractual agreement. So this is where you're a provider for an insurance company. So let's use the example, you're a provider for Blue Shield, Blue Cross, Aetna, someone. And as a provider for them, you've agreed to accept a lower reimbursement as a provider for them. So it's the same as what I said with Medicare before. Although Blue Shield might say this is the Blue Shield fee schedule, in your own practice, I want you to eliminate the term fee schedule and again, use it, say, I have a Blue Shield discount schedule, because that's in essence what you've agreed to do. You've agreed to discount your services to what they're willing to reimburse. So again, if your fee is $30 and they're willing to reimburse $35, you've agreed to discount by $25. So that's the way your bookkeeping should look. I have my $60 fee. You don't show on your billing a lower fee. Your fee should always be your standard fee, your fee for that ICD code. I'm sorry, that CPT code, and then you would have a discount write-off. And this is, as you are aware, if you're a member of ChiroHealthUSA, this is exactly where that discount medical plan organization would be, where you're a member of their program, and as a member of the program, you are now, by contract, allowed to offer those same type of discounts for those non-covered services. In essence, it works the same as the insurance, except there's no insurance reimbursement. And it falls under these contractual agreements that you're allowed to provide these discounts. Again, you do not have a ChiroHealthUSA fee schedule. You have a ChiroHealthUSA discount schedule, just like you have an insurance company discount schedule. So again, the reason I'm harping on this is because what I've seen is when you don't change your language, it does create confusion between you and your staff or what you're doing. So in order to eliminate that confusion, you want to use the proper language around it. So it's a discount schedule versus a fee schedule. Next one is another slide I want to show you here. Again, this is another slide we borrowed from ChiroHealthUSA, and that is a slide basically showing you all the different regulatory agencies that tell you, who's looking over you from the standpoint of discounts. And this has to do with your prompt pay discount. So this is the fourth type of discounts that you can do, which is a really popular discount to use in practice, which is when people pay you promptly, you'll provide a discount to people. This is where the OIG comes in, the Office of the Inspector General, which kind of oversees and supersedes all other regulatory agencies. And they've basically said anything over 15% is considered a risky discount. So what this in essence says, here's the takeaway message here. Doctors, if you have a fee in your office and you don't want to do anything, if you want to basically do a 15% discount on a service or anything less than that, then you can do that on your own. You don't need a third-party program like ChiroHealthUSA to do that. Whereas if you do want to do larger than a 15% discount, that's when you definitely want to use their program in order to qualify for doing these larger discounts through using the contractual discount. So again, the prompt pay discount is limited to 15%. So this eliminates things like, for my cash patients, I have a lower fee. I hear this all the time. Oh, my cash patients are lower. You can't do that. There's no such thing as a cash fee. You have your standard fee, and you could apply a prompt pay discount of up to 15% or a ChiroHealthUSA discount larger than that should you be using the program. So I want to wrap up with the discount section. I know I flew through that fast, but the takeaway message of the discount section is that once a patient is opted out of their insurance and those services are non-qualified or non-covered services, you then have 4 ways those could be discounted. And in this case, we're talking about the using contractual agreements to discount those services, or prompt pay discounts, or prompt pay discounts to discount those services. Now the question is, how is the best way to collect those discounted fees? What is the best way to collect them? So this is step 3 in this. Step 1 was opt out. Step 2 was proper discount. Step 3 is what's the best way to collect? And the reason I bring up this question, what's the best way to collect? Because quite frankly, the way you collect your money has a huge impact on your patient visit average. I started off the webinar earlier talking about how the 2 things that impacted my success in practice were 2 big things. One was putting people on care plans. The next was automating monthly payments. And what I've seen is based upon how you collect, and it's not just my own practice. I've seen this now with thousands of practices now. The way you collect your money will tremendously impact your patient visit average, more so than almost anything else. More so than how well you're educating patients and the value they see, and lots of things that impact patient retention. But those 2 things have the biggest impact. So let me go through the 4 ways that you collect money that's most common. One is pay per visit. This is where every time a patient walks in the practice, they stop at the front desk, they pull out their wallet, and they pay you. That's a pay-per-visit practice. We see routinely that the PVA of these practices gets stuck around 12 visits. That's typical PVA of a practice where every patient is pay-per-visit. No matter what else they do, that's where they get stuck. Some are higher, some are lower. There's always an exception. There's probably someone on the call right now saying, well, I do pay-per-visit. My PVA is 18. Sure, there's always exceptions. But as a general average out there, that's what we see. It just so happens the average PVA in America right now is about 12 visits. I don't know whether it's associated with the fact that a lot of practices are pay per visit or not, but nonetheless, we do see that really low PVA, which means that you're not seeing patients long term. You're not retaining them. There's a lot of struggle going on in that practice. The next is the block of visits. This is another common business model we see in practice where, in essence, the doctor is having patients buy 10 or 12 visits at a time. Typically, what's going on is the doctor's having the patient purchase enough visits to go from re-exam to re-exam. So if a new patient was to come in and you were recommending care, you're recommending care in the fashion of, let's get you started, let's see how you do, I'll reevaluate next month, and we'll take it from there. And the doctor's doing what's called an open-ended treatment plan. There's no commitment to a period of time. It's just a commitment to the next re-exam. And so the patient buys enough visits to get to the next re-exam. And then you get to that next re-exam, and lo and behold, the doctor says to the patient, great news, you're making good progress, but you still need more care, so let's continue on. And the patient buys another block of visits to get to the next re-exam. Well, what we've observed is after 2 or 3 re-exams, well, let me back up for a second. There is a principle we've kind of discovered, and that is the more often a patient has to make a decision about care, the more opportunities there are for them to leave your practice. And if you were to think of that analogy I shared before, the holes in the leaky bucket, that when you talk about a practice full of holes in it, those holes are the decisions patients have to make. The more decisions occurring, the more opportunity people have to leave. And basically what we're saying is at every re-exam, the patient has a decision to make. Do they buy more visits? And lo and behold, we see typically after about 2 or 3 re-exams, people drop out, and we end up seeing a PVA stuck around 24 to 36, strictly based upon the fact that you're only collecting enough money for 10 or 12 visits at a time. That's generally the model we've seen. Now, a block of visits has its place. A good place for a block of visits is for not a new patient, but maybe an established patient who comes in infrequently. They come in once this month and twice next month, and then they skip a month. And, that they're not on a regular schedule. That patient is good to buy a block of visits, but not new patients. One way to improve the block of visits as well is to have it be an auto-renewing block, where every time when someone enrolls in that block of visits, you're not asking them every block, do you want to buy another block? What you're doing is once they enroll, once they use up those visits, you're automatically charging them for the next block, assuming they tell you not, they're not telling you not to do it, but you've already got permission that every 10 or 12 visits, you just automatically charge them for the next 10 or 12 visits, and then they just use them up when they want to use them. That's for that patient. That's the best way of doing that. The pay-per-visit as well, if you have people who are on pay-per-visit, the best way to handle that moving forward is you have the patient sign a form that basically authorizes you to automatically charge their credit card every time they come in. So they're not stopping at the desk to make a payment. They may still be paying per visit, but you're not asking them for their credit card every single time they walk in the door. The next is the prepay plans. This is a common program done out there, especially doctors who are really passionate about chiropractic and really super excited about chiropractic and running busy practices. A lot of them do prepay programs where people prepay. These have their place. These are a good option for patients. Maybe about 5% of your patient population likes to prepay. The vast majority of patients do not prepay for things in their life. They don't buy cars that way. They don't buy expensive furniture or TVs that way. They put everything on monthly payments. So in order to get people to do something they wouldn't normally do in doing a prepay, this is where doctors have to learn how to do sales and go to sales training seminars and all these things to learn how to sell. And I know most doctors, including myself, are not interested in selling, in the traditional format of selling. So prepays are one of these things that's a good option for those small percentage of people who want them. But again, the vast majority of people don't want them. But for the practices that are doing a lot of them, what we see is their PVAs get stuck around 50 to 75, which is still a pretty high PVA, but not as high as it could be. And the psychology behind why that happens is because at the end of the prepay, most patients don't renew. Those who do complete the programs, most of them at that point are not renewing, not because they don't value chiropractic, but merely because it's a big decision. The big decision is, do you want to start spending money again? Maybe they prepaid 6 months ago for a program, and now it's time for them to renew, and they have a decision to make. Do they want to start spending money again? And most of them choose not to. So the re-sign rate for these people is not great. Now, again, there's exceptions. I know practices that don't have a challenge with the re-sign rate, but the vast majority of practices that are doing prepays we see get stuck right around this level. By far, the highest PVA practices are the ones doing monthly auto debits. These are the practices where patients are on a program. There's some total fee, and I'm going to show you some examples of how to build these in just a moment here. But then instead of them, paying for it one visit at a time or paying for it in blocks or prepaying it, they're paying it out over a monthly payment over the course of the treatment plan. So maybe the treatment plan is 6 months, so they have 6 monthly payments. Or maybe it's an 8-month treatment plan, so they have 8 monthly payments. But the payments are made in sync with the treatment plan. That's a key concept, that it's done the same number of months that the treatment plan is for that particular patient. And these practices, by far, we see across the board, have the highest PVAs. And the vast majority of the people that, when I showed you those purple charts before with all the cash collections, that's what that is. It's practice members being added that are on monthly payments, and the monthly collections just continue to rise month after month because you're filling the bucket with more and more people, and you're not losing them on the back end, and you get a busier and busier practice. To share the results of this, here's some doctors, and you can see these pictures I'm showing you are actually images of videos. If any of you are interested in watching some of these videos, you can go to cashpractice.com at any time, and at the bottom of the page, on the home page, you'll see all these videos there where you can watch them. But this is Dr. Michelle Wozniak from Denver, Colorado, and when she came on board, her PVA was around 12 to 15, and she goes on the record saying that her PVA went up close to 50. It's probably higher than that at this point. This was some time ago that we did this video with her, but she saw significant growth by starting to apply this stuff. And then there's Dr. Jason Day, who went from a PVA of less than 10 to close to 70 visits by introducing these concepts in his practice. So again, I want you to, if you will watch these videos, you can see from their own words, exactly the impact that these things had. We do teach a lot more than what I'm sharing with you right now. I'm just sharing with you this very narrow focused topic right now. When it comes to actually building this retention, there's actually many other things you need to do. There's 4 key concepts that need to be addressed. And I do share those with you in this ebook. We're happy to share this ebook with all of you. It's not just a couple pages. It's a good 50, 60-page book that me and Holly Jensen wrote together. If you don't know who Holly Jensen is, she's a pretty well-known person in the industry as well, a Parker speaker, et cetera, who's worked with me for the last 16 years. You could, again, use that same phone number to text. Just text the word ebook, your name and email, and we will send you a link to be able to download that ebook as well. And we encourage you to do that. So high deductible strategy in summary. Number 1 is patients opt out of their insurance, and ultimately that means they're a cash patient. That's pretty much what ends up happening, and you would end up treating them no different than a person who had no insurance. Number 2 is you then use legal discounting methods to build the care plan. So we showed you the 4 compliant ways of discounting your services. And then number 3 is you offer the patient affordable payment options on a care plan. And that's what I'm going to show you right now is how we do that. We actually have the patient enroll in a care plan. So the 3 options we want to show you, and this is kind of just, again, for illustration purposes here, your fees, the dollar amounts, they will change depending on your treatment plan, your fees, all that stuff. This is just to illustrate the point that the first option is a recurring payment. In this example, we're showing the total program is $41.93. They make an initial payment of $354, followed by monthly payments of $349 for this designated program. Some of you right now might be thinking, well, what's included in that program? Again, that's defined by you, how many adjustments, what therapies you're doing. It's not, well, here's what it's not. It's not come as much as you want or little as you want. It's not unlimited care. It's nothing like that. It's a very defined program that you determine in your practice. The second option we'd like to offer our patients is we give them a little bit more of a discount. They make a down payment. So in this case, a larger down payment of $1,331, followed by smaller monthly payments. I want you to also notice that these options look very similar to what you would do if you bought a house or bought a car or bought expensive furniture or bought any kind of major purchase. You have these same options. Either make a monthly payment, make a down payment with smaller monthly payments, or make a one-time payment, a prepayment. And those are the same 3 options people are used to in everything else in their life. So we're not coming up with anything that seems unusual to them. It seems straightforward and understandable. And that second payment option there is the best option possible. It's my favorite. It's what most patients choose. And the reason I like it so much is because when they make a down payment, as we know, when they make a larger down payment, people are more committed. They're more into the program. They're more invested in it. And then you're also establishing that monthly payment. So now you're establishing the fact that they're paying you every month. And I didn't share with you why that's so important, but the reason it's so important is because at the end of the program, it makes it really easy now to transition them to your next program of care, your wellness program. It becomes very easy because what ends up happening is, let's say that patient's been paying me that $245 a month for the last year. I get to say at the end of the year, great news, you're ready to go to wellness care. Oh, and by the way, your $245 payment's going down to $150, let's say. And when I now make it easy for them to accept the fact that their new payment is going down, that's good news to them. As opposed to me saying, hey, last year the program was $3,900, the new program is X, and they have a decision to make. Do they want to start up something new again? So I've removed a major roadblock to transitioning wellness care by offering them the opportunity to go to a lower monthly payment. So that's those 3 options we offer. Now, when it comes to building plans, let me show you an example. I want to show you an example here. This is a simple one of 75 visits over 12 months. Again, I'm not saying every patient needs 75 visits over 12 months. You define for your practice what patients need for your particular style of practice, as well as what you're trying to accomplish as a goal, whatever it may be. But let's just use this as an example. So in this example, I'm showing you here, the first line shows adjustments not covered by insurance. And I'm showing you 75 visits at $60 came to $4,500 in services. Under the payment plan column, you see there, that's where we did our own in-house prompt pay discount of 5%. And under the ChiroHealthUSA plan there, you'll see that the software is applying, in this example, a 30% discount for your ChiroHealthUSA agreement, assuming that's what you did, plus a 5% prompt pay discount for them promptly paying. And all of those columns now show the discount went from $4,500 all the way down to, in this case, to $29.93, because those were all non-covered services. So I want you to imagine the patient came in with a high deductible. They opted out, so it's all non-covered. Those services now qualify for the discount. And then, of course, all the other services you recommend, progress exams, progress x-rays if you do them, therapies that you're doing to practice. I just call it therapy 1, 2, and 3 there. But each of those rows are basically showing you the pay, your full fee, and then it's showing you the discount if you apply your prompt pay or your ChiroHealthUSA program, and then it came to subtotal at the very bottom there. So in this case, it was $66.95, got all the way down to $45.02 in this particular example. Again, depends on what you're doing in your practice, your fees, the length of care, how many visits you're recommending. Obviously, the totals are going to be different in your particular practice. Then that total $45.02 is simply broken into either a monthly payment, in this case it was $375 a month, or they make an initial down payment of $1,382 followed by $256 a month, or it's a one-time payment of $4067. And no matter what we build as a plan, we break it down to these 3 payment options for the patient to choose. The next thing I want to show you here before we come to the end here is the same kind of program, but now we have insurance that you're utilizing. So what I just showed you was a cash patient, or it was a patient with a really high deductible who opted out, and you treated them the same as a cash. Now I'm going to show you an example where the patient is not opting out of their insurance, that there is a deductible that you're able to meet, and you're going to build a plan that incorporates both the non-covered cash visits as well as the covered services from insurance. So here's how that looks. That highlighted line there shows adjustments to meet the deductible. So in this case, we have 15 visits at $60, came in $900, and those services are going towards the deductible. And I want you to notice that in the column under payment plan and the column under ChiroHealthUSA, it's still $900. Why? Because it's covered services. You cannot discount those. So those are still at the full rate. They are not discounted. The next line, adjustments covered by insurance. So these are copays. So we have 25 visits at a $30 copay, came to $750. That $750 is full price again, no discount applied. So at this point in time, those services, there's no discounts being applied. Now the rest of the services are not covered by insurance. So we have the adjustments not covered by insurance. The remaining 35 coming to $2,500 there. Or $2,100, and you'll see off to the right, those get discounted now because, again, they're non-covered services. And then everything else is exactly the same on the program because they're all non-covered services. The therapies, let's say, and the progress exams, let's say they're not covered in this example. So we are able to then show the total cost of the program came to $41.93. The benefit of doing this now is now you've built a program that includes all the insured, the covered visits, and the non-covered services. So when the patient enrolls in this program, this is what their financial responsibility is. No more, no less. This is what they're responsible for. And they love it because now there's nothing hidden. They know right up front what's going on. And when the insurance runs out, they don't care. And the reason they don't care is because you're not then going to them and asking them to pay something different. If you've been of the model, let me use their insurance, and when the insurance runs out, I'll then convert them to cash. Let me just tell you right now, that's never going to work. It never has. It never will. To expect a patient to go from paying, a $25 copay or $30 copay, and when the insurance runs out, now they're going to suddenly agree to pay you your $60 fee or your $50 discounted fee. It just doesn't work consistently. Now, again, there's exceptions, but the vast majority of the time it just doesn't work. So in order to have it successful, where patients are using care beyond their insurance, it's most beneficial to have the plan built with the insurance and the cash visits all built in together, or the non-covered services all built in together. So again, that $41.93, again, either the same 3 options, either a monthly payment, a down payment with smaller monthly payments, or a one-time payment. And when you build your plans this way, if you now take these plans and you present them to patients, and some of you on this call right now may be very good at presenting plans to patients. Some of you on the call right now may have never done it or haven't had good experiences doing it, or you tried it in the past and you failed at it, or you tried it and you got met with a lot of rejection, or whatever it was. I want to let you know there is a method to the madness. There is a way to communicate with patients where it becomes very natural for them to say yes to these programs without sounding like a salesman, without you feeling icky and gross about doing it. There is a way to do it. And when people become clients of ours, we have the resources for you to watch videos and scripting and all of the stuff that we teach you, that how you actually present these programs. I'm kind of focusing on just the mechanics of building the plans right now, but then there's all the education on, well, how do you or a CA sit down and go over this with a patient? How do you review it in a way where it just feels very comfortable for them to say yes to it? And we have all that training available for you as well. A couple more case studies here. Here's Dr. Todd Pickman. Many of you probably are aware of him. He's on Facebook all the time. You see him all over the place. When he came on board, he saw just by using the programs and applying this, he claims he had a 50% increase in his monthly auto debits when he started utilizing this stuff. And then one of my favorite stories is Dr. Felicity Keogh. If you go watch her video on our website, you'll see where she talks about where she wasn't a great business person. She wasn't had a lot of success, in the business side of things, although she's a phenomenal chiropractor. And she took on the lessons that we teach and started applying this stuff. And very proud that she went from almost no patients signing up on care plans to nearly 100% of her patients signing up on care plans. And this is her own, her own acknowledgement of this, of the success she was having by applying this stuff. So I hope you found that valuable. I know I flew through this stuff really fast. I know that. You probably have questions. Many people times when they get done with these webinars, they want to speak with one of our cash practice representatives. We make it really easy for you to book your own appointment time if you want to schedule a 10-minute call with one of our experts to answer your questions and maybe show you how a couple things work and find out whether it's a good fit for you. If it is potentially a good fit, what that person will end up doing is offering you the opportunity to do a 30 or 40-minute web demonstration at a time that's convenient for you to demonstrate our software, to demonstrate the tools we offer. And at that point, should you decide you want to utilize our services, you would then become a client of ours. And that as a client, you get an account manager who teaches you all the stuff. And we're a full service organization to help you in regard to that. But the first step is if you want to learn more about what we do and get some help with it, I highly encourage you to book a 10-minute call with one of our experts. It's very easy to do this. All you do is go to cashpractice.com and you'll see at the very top a button that says free consult. Just click on that button and it will take you to a calendar to pick a time, a day and time that you can do a consultation with our team, and they will, like I said, answer your questions for you. I'm going to pause at this point and take a breath because I know I've been talking nonstop here. Come back to Christy and find out if there's any questions or anything I need to address. Christy, let me know.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bodzin. If you have a question for Dr. Bodzin, please go ahead and submit that now under new question on your control panel. And just a reminder, we only have 2 webinars this month. Today's webinar with Dr. Miles Bodzin, and then next week we have May Bagnell from South Florida, who's going to be doing our CA Masterclass, The Art of Communication. We'll be taking a break for the Thanksgiving holiday and return on December the 4th with Ms. Holly Jensen, who's going to be talking about the 4 things CAs can do to put more fun in the workday. So if you have not registered for those, please go ahead and do so now. Then we will also be wrapping up December, which is also a short month. Bringing back Dr. Tom Nasila, who's going to be talking about retirement planning and your exit strategy for your practice. Whether you've been in practice for 1 year or 30 years, you will definitely benefit from this webinar. So go ahead. It's one of our most popular and most requested webinars that we get all year long. So please make sure you register for those early. Dr. Bodzin, I don't see any questions at all coming through. Is there anything else you want to?
Yeah, I was going to say I probably blew everybody out of the water with how fast I was talking. I know I was extra fast today. Normally, when I do these webinars, I don't know why I was talking so fast today, but I was. But I will say this. A common question we get, and I'll just answer, they usually come up, so let me just answer a couple common questions. One common question I get, and this is pertinent to your audience as well, is why Cash Practice and ChiroHealthUSA work so close together? And really, the answer is this. ChiroHealthUSA is the solution, as you're aware, to giving you a compliant way of doing discounts to your services for your non-covered services. Cash Practice is the solution for taking those discounted services and packaging it properly into a program. This is why we've been working together for probably over 10 years now, our 2 companies. So for those of you who are on the call right now who are already using ChiroHealthUSA and you're not a Cash Practice client, I really recommend that you get a hold of us and let us show you how you can take full advantage and maximize the reimbursement from your ChiroHealthUSA agreements. You want to get the most, obviously, you want to get the most benefit out of patients being ChiroHealthUSA clients. Okay, here's a great question. Many insurance companies no longer cover maintenance care. How do you get by with a high visit care plan? Well, that's because we don't do insurance for those. Patients are paying for it out of your pocket. So by the question, I'm getting the impression you believe that you can only do this if patients have insurance to cover that. So if that is the case, if that is what you're believing, my statement back to that is that is not what we do. Patients are paying for care out of their own pocket. That's the kind of the method behind the madness. And if that seems like a foreign concept for the doctor asking that, then we're here to help you make that not foreign for you. That how do you sit down with a patient and have them agreeing to pay for services out of their pocket? I'm not sure if I answered it completely, but I did. Another question that came up, can you briefly touch on when a patient wants a receipt but as part of ChiroHealthUSA, is it possible to submit a receipt to the insurance? The absolute answer is, yeah. I mean, here's the reality, and I'll share the story this way. I often get doctors say, I want to be a cash-only practice so that I don't have to deal with the headaches of insurance. And the reality is there's no such thing as a cash-only practice. That may be a little shock for you to hear that, but that's the reality of it. So what I mean by that is when patients come in, really what you are, if you're saying you're cash only, if that was the case, what you really are saying is that you don't accept assignment of benefits. Your patients can still come in with insurance, and they can ask for a super bill or a receipt, and you're required to give it to them. And if they have that super bill, yes, they could submit it to insurance. And as soon as they submit it to insurance, you are responsible for doing all the things you would normally do had you billed the insurance yourself, meaning you coded correctly and you documented correctly and you did all the things you were supposed to do had you been dealing with the insurance. So when you ask the question about how do can a patient take a receipt and submit it, the answer is you give patients the receipt should always look the same, whether it's ChiroHealthUSA, cash, insurance, whatever. It should look the same. Here's what I mean by that. Let's say your fee is $60 for an adjustment, and that's what they got. So the first line in your receipt should say, 98942 CMT code, and the fee was $60. That's line one, and it's your fee. That's your fee. Now, was there a discount applied? Oh, in this case, there was. ChiroHealthUSA. So the ChiroHealthUSA discount was, 20% off of 60, which was $12. So it shows a ChiroHealthUSA write-off of $12. Patient balance is $48. That's what they paid. So that's what it would show. Now, if it's an insurance company, okay, you're going to give them a receipt for the full price. And again, if it's an insured visit, that's a covered service. So if it's a covered service, there's no ChiroHealthUSA discount being applied because they are now submitting it. Now, let me back up for a second. If the patient has said they've opted out or they sign a form to opt out in your practice and you give them a super bill that shows that they opted out, so you're providing the ChiroHealthUSA discount on the statement, on the super bill. It shows the $60 fee, the $12 ChiroHealthUSA write-off, and the $48 balance, and the patient then submits that to their insurance company unbeknownst to you. You're not going to get in trouble for that, or you shouldn't, because you have on record they've elected to opt out. You can't control what the patient does on their own, though. You're not there, watching their mailbox. So yes, you can't withhold a super bill, though, but you just want to make sure that super bill reflects accurately what it should reflect, which is your normal fee. What I don't want to see is is your fee is normally $60, but your super bill shows, well, I'm only charging them $45 because of the discount. So your super bill shows a fee of $45. It should always be your full fee showing then the appropriate discount being applied. That way it's very clear your fee is your fee is your fee. It also lets the patient know that they're receiving a discount. So the last thing I'll say is that another question that comes up is, and it has more to do with being a member of Cash Practice. If you become a member of Cash Practice, of course you could ask the questions directly to our team when you speak with them. But when you're a member of our program, there's no risk involved. It's month to month. You can cancel at any time. It's very inexpensive to be a member. We have the training available for you. We're here for you to support you. That we're really here for you. And if you're not ready to make that move, at a minimum, go take a look at some of the videos on the website. And certainly, we hope that you get an opportunity to see the movie, The Calling movie. The Calling, and you just go to thecallingmovie.com to learn more about that. So I will turn it back over to Christy, and I will simply say thank you for having me, and I really appreciate the opportunity to share with your audience. And if anybody has any questions, again, please let us know.
Yes, I do encourage you to go to the Cash Practice website, watch the videos. I am just going to tell you, they have unbelievable practice education on there. Their customer service, hands down, top notch, most amazing team of people. They answer questions very quickly. Again, follow them on social, especially on Facebook. It's one of my favorite corporate Facebook pages by a long shot. These is great company, unbelievable people to work with. And I will say too, for those of you who have heard me, I've been doing a lot of webinars and teaching a lot in the last couple of weeks, and I always address the issue of a financial report of findings, and they have a great way of being able to do that for your patients to easily understand. The other thing that I really impress upon clinics when you're trying to streamline things, make stuff easier for your practice and help you from a financial standpoint is doing the auto debit system. This is such a no-brainer, and when I talk about it, I'm not always at liberty to say who I am talking about unless you follow me back to the booth, but I am always talking about cash practice and using their examples when I am showing how easy it is and what an impact it can have on your practice. So check them out, go to their website, follow them on social. If you've got 10 minutes, talk to them, do a free consult. You would be blown away. Just watch the testimonial videos, the amazing impact that they are having on practices all across the country. This is probably, next to ChiroHealthUSA, it's like the simplest thing you can do and implement in your practice. Their patient education is outstanding. It's just crazy, unbelievable just how easy it is to use their software, the huge value that you're getting, and the price is just unbelievable. So again, if you take no other advice from me, please go to their website, check them out. You will not be sorry that you did. In fact, your staff is going to hug you and thank you if you implement this in your practice, because it does so many things automated once you get it in place, and it takes so much pressure off your staff. It really just improves your patient experience in your practice, and you just can't really put a price on that, really. It's just unbelievable, super affordable. You will not be, like I said, huge value to your practice. Check them out. Dr. Bodzin, thank you so much for doing this webinar today. I picked the busiest week of all time for you to be like, hey, can you do a webinar for me? So I appreciate you doing that.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me, Christy. I really appreciate it.
All right, everyone. Have an amazing rest of your day, a fabulous week. We look forward to having you join us next week with May Bagnell for the Masterclass CA, the Art of Communication. You know what? You don't have to be a CA to be on that webinar. Everyone can benefit from improved communication skills. So I look forward to seeing you here next time. Bye-bye, everyone. Dr. Bodzin?